I had hoped to introduce Governor Kataki from Zuni, Pueblo. He had to go home suddenly on family emergency, but I'm honored to recognize the Honorable Gerald Hooee, Sr. He's a tribal council member of the Zuni tribe and just does a fantastic job, and we welcome you here today from New Mexico. Thank you very much, and would yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you for this opportunity to testify before you today about the steps needed to return the lands at former Fort Wingate to the Zuni tribe and Navajo Nation, a matter that is one of the highest priorities for the Zuni tribe. My name, as stated earlier, is Gerald Hooee, Sr. I am an elected tribal councilman for the Pueblo of Zuni. With me today is another tribal councilman, Lauren Likula, Sr., and our Fort Wingate coordinator, Daryl Chabetse, and our legal counsel, Daniel Pearce. I would like to begin by thanking Congressman Pearce for introducing H.R. 4187. That bill would transfer 3 of the 25 reuse parcels of the land at the former Fort Wingate in New Mexico to the Zuni and Navajo tribes, with Parcel 1 going to Zuni and Parcel 15 and 17 going to the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation has attacked Congressman Pearce for introducing this legislation, claiming that it meddles in intertribal affairs. I am mystified why Navajo is saying this, since, as a document attached to my written testimony shows, both tribes agreed to this division of these 3 parcels back in 1997. As a result, H.R. 4187 simply carries out what the 2 tribes agreed to 15 years ago. Navajo has also complained that the bill does not provide for a 50-50 division. This is also a diversion, since they know the bill is just the first step. However, the main purpose of my testimony today is to ask Congress to expand H.R. 4187 so that it transfers all 25 of the reused parcels at Fort Wingate to the 2 tribes. This legislation is needed for 2 reasons. First, Congress must authorize the transfer of all these parcels to the tribes before the Interior Department can put them in trust for us. It therefore makes sense to do it in a single piece of legislation rather than addressing 3 parcels in 4187 and have to legislate on the other 22 at some future time. But secondly, the legislation transferring all 25 parcels to the 2 tribes is needed to break 15 years of futile negotiations between the Zuni tribe and the Navajo Nation regarding the division of the land at Fort Wingate. Congress must break the deadlock so that the Zuni tribe can finally get its share of the parcels that have commercial value, so it can engage in economic development activities that can reduce our 65% unemployment rate and that can help to stop our young educated Zunis from leaving the reservation because they cannot find decent jobs there. The Zuni tribe, with 11,300 members, is culturally rich but economically poor. While we have been successful in preserving our culture and language, we suffer from extreme poverty and a 65% unemployment rate. A main reason for this is that our reservation is located in a remote corner of New Mexico, away from the interstate highways, rail lines, natural gas pipelines, and the kind of electric transmission needed for commercial development. In contrast, the 17,000 plus acres at Fort Wingate that the Army no longer can provide the Zuni tribe and the Navajo Nation with unparalleled opportunities for economic development. In the mid-1990s, the federal government concluded that upon the closure and remediation of Fort Wingate, the 17,000 acres the Army no longer needed should be returned to their owners, the Zuni tribe and the Navajo Nation. In 1997, the federal government gave the 2 tribes the opportunity to negotiate an agreement on how the land should be divided between them. The Zuni tribe and 2 different Navajo Nation presidents have agreed on a 50-50 division of the lands. Under those divisions, each tribe would have received these lands that is considered to be its highest priorities in terms of economic development or cultural significance. However, each time the Navajo president agreed to a 50-50 division, the Navajo Nation Council killed the agreement, arguing that Navajo is entitled to 90% of the lands, or 75%, or 65%, or at one point arguing it should get 100%, but with a generous offer to give Zuni a 99 years lease on a few parcels. There is no justification for Navajo Nation to be receiving more than 50% of the lands, and Navajo Nation has never put forth any reasons. The Navajo Nation Council is simply seeking to bludgeon the Zuni tribe into giving up to the Navajo Nation's demands for more than half of the lands. Instead of negotiating in good faith, the Navajo Nation Council has drawn out the negotiations for 15 years in hopes that the Zuni tribe will finally cave in to Navajo's unfair demands that Navajo get a majority of the lands. As a result, today we are no further along than we were 15 years ago. If Congress fails to enact legislation and permits the Navajo Nation to draw out the negotiations for another 15 years, we will be denied the opportunity to use the commercially valuable land at Fort Wingate to grow ourselves out of poverty. We also face the possibility that non-Indian governments in the area will see this commercially valuable land going to waste and make a run at it. The Navajo Nation has argued that the division of the land at Fort Wingate is an intertribal matter in which Congress has no role. The Zuni tribe agrees that the best solution would have been for the two tribes to negotiate a settlement between them. The tribes are fortunate that the federal government gave us an opportunity to agree on a fair division of the lands. But remember, these are federal lands that only Congress has the sole authority to dispose of. They are not tribal lands. When Congress gave us this opportunity to negotiate, it did not abandon its authority or its right to step in if one tribe abused that authority. That is what has happened here. The Navajo Nation Council has forfeited the opportunity by overreaching and demanding that it receive the majority of the Fort Wingate lands over the past 15 years. It is using this opportunity to negotiate given to us by the federal government to hold the Zuni tribe hostage until we give in and agree to let Navajo Nation get a majority of the lands, even though there is no justification for this. As a result, it is time for Congress to step back in and exercise its authority by imposing a deadline on negotiations, after which Congress decides how the land should be divided. There is a July 18th, 2012 letter from Navajo Nation Speaker Johnny Nazy to Congressman Pearce, in which the Speaker said that legislation is not needed because the two tribes are making progress on an agreement and that an agreement is closer than one could imagine. I am not sure why Speaker Nazy was misleading the Congressman, but there is not a single bit of truth in that statement. The truth is that there are no ongoing negotiations, and we are no further along in reaching an agreement today than we were when we started 15 years ago. In fact, one member of the Navajo Nation MOU team told us that the Navajo Nation Council has no intentions of even addressing the Fort Wingate situation.
Gerald, how much longer do you need to go?
What's that?
How much longer do you need to go?
I'm almost finished.
Okay.
Okay. After 15 years, it's time for Congressmen to declare negotiations because the process has failed. And we are asking for the subcommittee's help in addressing this issue in the HR Bill 4187. And we are proposing that what should be added to the bill is the rest of the 22 parcels that are left. So that way we don't need a second step and we don't need second legislation to go over a second time on through legislation to agree to these lands. So we are asking for the subcommittee's help on this issue. Thank you.